She gave up food for books, and the Millionaire CEO's shocking decision changed her life forever. Emily was known around town as the girl who traded her meals for paperbacks. Folks thought she was crazy, but really, she was living a dream that nobody else could understand. In her small, cluttered apartment, stacks of books reached to the ceiling, binding her to stories. Each spine was an escape, and each page turned was a little act of rebellion. People saw her at the cafe, clutching a novel while others devoured burgers, but her heart was always full, even if her stomach wasn't. One rainy afternoon, with thunder rumbling, everything changed. The barista announced a visit from the city's most famous millionaire entrepreneur, Derek Hawthorne, a man known for his ruthless business dealings and enviable wealth. With slicked back hair and a suit that could probably pay a year's rent, he walked into the cafe, glancing around like he owned the world. The atmosphere crackled with excitement, and all eyes were glued to him. He was out of place among the sketchbooks and worn-out chairs, undeniably captivating. Curiosity pricked at Emily's heart. What would someone like him think of her odd choices? She was just a bookworm in a sea of ambitious people. But as Derek approached, the air seemed to shift. A whisper of fate danced on the edges of reality. He stopped in front of Emily, eyes darting to the pile of novels she featured like trophies. Ever thought about using that passion for something bigger? He asked, his voice deep and compelling, sending chills down her spine. Before she could respond, the cafe erupted with gasps as Derek made an unexpected announcement. I'm starting a new project, and I need someone dedicated, who sees the world differently. The excitement in the room was palpable, like an electric current, and everyone leaned in closer, hanging on his every word. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Emily's heart raced. This was her chance, her way to finally do something with her life besides just indulging in fantasy worlds. But what would it cost her? Meeting Derek's gaze felt like being caught in a storm full of danger and promise. The crowd around her shifted restlessly, their chatter buzzing in her ears like a swarm of bees. But her focus was clear. What did he want from her? And how could a simple girl like her step into his world without losing herself? Then, just as quickly as he arrived, Derek turned on his heel and left, leaving nothing but a swirling mix of whispers and Emily's pounding heart. One thought echoed in her mind: she needed to find out how to grasp the opportunity he dangled in front of her. What would happen next? Would she dive into the unknown or hold on to her beloved books and safety? The answer hung in the air like the last page of a gripping novel, waiting to be turned. Emily stood frozen as the cafe buzzed with disbelief. Derek Hawthorne had left, but the whirlwind he created filled the room. The patrons exchanged glances, some wide-eyed, others muttering excitedly. She could hear Sarah, a barista with a flair for gossip, whispering to a coworker, "He's looking for someone? Do you think it could be real?" Heart racing, Emily cradled her favorite novel, its pages warm from her grip. Was he really interested in her? Did he see something in her that no one else had? For a moment, hope flickered in her chest, bright and intoxicating. The door swung open again, and a gust of wind blew through the cafe, stirring the pleasant smell of coffee. Emily turned instinctively, anticipating Derek's return. But it was just a trio of tourists, dripping wet, their laughter almost mocking her silent struggle. "Emily," came Sarah's exuberant voice. "You've got to go talk to him. This could be your big break." Emily wanted to shake her head, to insist that this was just a fantasy, a wild idea fit for the pages of one of her beloved stories. Who was she to step into his world? She was just a girl who loved books, not some ambitious businesswoman. Still, the thought of wasting this chance clutched her stomach tight. That it was late when she returned home, drenched and deep in thought. The glow from her desk lamp illuminated stacks of novels, their covers like old friends watching her fight her inner turmoil. What would you do? She whispered at them, seeking advice. They remained silent, but she felt their presence. They had taught her about courage, love, and endless possibilities. With trembling fingers, she grabbed her phone. How could she reach out to him? But what would she even say? The clock ticked loudly as she considered crafting a message. The weight of potential rejection felt monstrous. Yet, every heartbeat thudded with the impulse to act. Just as she decided to send a simple text, a notification popped up. It was an email subject line bold and unread, "Opportunity awaits." She opened it, her breath halting. It was from Derek's team, seeking applicants for his new project. It was a call to action, an invitation to submit herself for consideration. The room spun. Emily felt dizzy with possibility. She expanded the email, reading about the project and requirements. They sought teamwork, creativity, and an unconventional perspective, everything she prided herself on. It was perfect. But also terrifying. Would they even consider her? Emily paced her small apartment, heart racing faster than her thoughts could keep up. Doubts rushed at her like stormy waves. What if she wasn't good enough? What if she didn't belong in that world of cutthroat business? But with each wave, another feeling surged up, a flicker of determination. But then an unsettling thought crept in, a chill running down her spine. What if she released her grip on her books and lost them forever? As she contemplated what this leap might entail, a sudden knock at her door shattered her focus. Who could it be at this hour? Her heart pounded as she approached the door. The stakes felt impossibly high. Was it opportunity knocking or trouble? Her pulse raced as she turned the knob, uncertain of what awaited her on the other side. Emily hesitated, hand hovering over the knob. An electric tension filled the air, thick with uncertainty. The chatter of thoughts transformed into a deafening roar in her head. Could this be Derek? Or perhaps someone who meant her harm? Panic twisted through her limbs. Just as she turned the doorknob, the sound of muffled voices spilled through the thin wood. Her heart raced, recognition flooding her system. The hushed tones were familiar, her next-door neighbor, Linda, and a few other friends from the building. What could they want at this hour? She opened the door slowly, the hinges creaking like a skeleton coming to life. Linda stood there, wide-eyed and breathless. "Emily. We need to talk," she said, shifting on her feet, urgency etched into her features. "What is going on?" Emily asked, confusion swirling with her lingering fears. "We've heard some things," Linda said, glancing nervously down the hallway before pulling Emily aside. "About Derek and his project." "It's not just a project, Em. It's massive. And we think you might be in over your head." A sinking sensation settled in Emily's stomach. "What do you mean?" "Word is, he's controversial. He's known for taking risks, unconventional methods that leave a trail of chaos." Linda's voice trembled, painting a picture filled with dread. "He's ruthless, Emily. Not everyone makes it out unscathed." Emily's breath hitched, her mind racing to formulate a response. Was Derek really this ruthless business mogul? Did she really want to toss herself into that unpredictable world? The flicker of hope from earlier dimmed under a shadow of fear. "I'm not saying you shouldn't go for it," Linda added, her tone earnest. "I just think you should be cautious. This could change everything." The thoughts twisted in her mind, excitement battling with vulnerability. "What if I'm meant for this?" she whispered, barely convinced herself. Linda stepped closer, grasping Emily's arm. "I just don't want you to lose yourself in it. You've built a world around your books, and it's beautiful." With each word, Emily felt the weight of her choices crashing down. She had to make a decision. To chase after a dream that could transform her life or play it safe, clinging to the familiar. Was she strong enough to step out of her comfort zone? "Just think about it," Linda said, concern etched in her eyes. "Please, don't act rashly." As Emily stood in her doorway, conflicted thoughts raged like a wild storm. Suddenly, the bright screen of her phone blinked to life beside her, a new email notification. she turned to find another message from Derek's team, but this one had a different subject line. Immediate action required, deadline approaching. Her heart skipped, panic and excitement colliding. This was it. She was either going to seize this moment or let it slip away, leaving her in uncertainty. Before she could process further, her phone vibrated again. Hot with urgency, she tapped on the email. The words jumped out: "This opportunity comes at a personal cost. Beware of the changes it'll bring." Emily felt her chest tighten. What kind of cost? An image flashed through her mind: her safe little world, the smell of old books, the thrill of characters coming alive on crisp pages. How could she sacrifice that for the unknown? But what if the unknown held all her dreams? She stood, frozen in indecision, the echoes of her neighbor's warnings ringing in her ears. What would she do next? The door of possibility was wide open, but did she have the courage to step through? With a heavy heart, Emily faced the looming decision that could change everything. Was she ready to embrace the chaos, or would she choose safety, watching from the sidelines as dreams slipped into the night? Emily's fingers trembled as she held her phone, the screen glowing like an ominous beacon in the dimly lit hallway. Each vibration seemed to echo the rapid thudding of her heart. What personal cost? She whispered to herself, feeling the air grow thick with foreboding. Emily? Linda's voice cut through her thoughts, laced with worry. Are you okay? Yeah, I need a moment. Emily could barely form the words. The alternative futures twisted in her mind: a life filled with grit and possibilities on one side, and the comfort of her books, the crisp pages and familiar stories, on the other. But within those familiar pages, had she found everything, or was it just a safe cocoon stifling her dreams? Don't you think this is too fast? You just can't jump in without knowing what you're getting into, Linda urged, concern etched deep into her brow. Emily forced herself to meet Linda's gaze, feeling a surge of apprehension. What if I never get another chance like this? Linda opened her mouth to respond, but was interrupted by the abrupt ding of the elevator. Emily's heart raced as the metal doors slid open. It was Derek, stepping out with a purposeful stride. His presence was magnetic, effortlessly commanding attention even in that moment of chaos. Emily. I was just about to call you, he said, his blue eyes bright, a blend of enthusiasm and urgency. I have some amazing news. His smile widened, and her heart fluttered uneasily. Linda stepped forward, practically blocking Derek from entering her apartment. I think you need to explain exactly what you're proposing to her, she insisted, her tone protective. Emily deserves to know what she's getting into. Derek's smile faltered, and for a moment, an edge of annoyance flickered across his face. But in an instant, he masked it with charm. Of course. I need you on board. It's more than just a project. It's a movement. You'll be the driving force behind a whole new narrative. Emily felt exhilarated and terrified. A movement? The word hung in the air, heavy with promise and peril. Derek nodded vigorously. Yes. Imagine shaping the cultural landscape, redefining how stories are told. His excitement was infectious. But I won't lie. It's not just about the stories, it's about influence, reputation, a bit of chaos, too, but that's part of what makes it exciting. The room felt charged, the pull of possibility wrapped around her like a cocoon. Yet behind the bright vision he painted lurked shadows, the warnings from Linda surfacing in her mind. Was she ready to dive into a world where chaos reigned? What's the catch? Emily asked, her voice steady, challenging the energy between them. You said there would be a cost. Derek's expression shifted, a flicker of truth cutting through the bravado. The cost isn't just business relationships, it's personal as well. You'll need to be ready to sacrifice time, and more. Some friendships might fade. Your current life as you know it may not survive in the wake of what's coming. Emily took a step back, her breath hitching. Losing friends, sacrificing her sense of self, was that what it took to achieve a dream? The weight of urgency pressed against her ribs, making it hard to think. You don't have to decide right now. Linda urged, her eyes wide with alarm. The tension hung thick, the stakes rising higher than she could have imagined. but before she could respond, her phone buzzed again. She glanced down another email from Derek's team. Her heart raced with an electrifying mix of intrigue and dread. This is it, she felt whispered in her bones. Would she leap into the chaos, clutching the potential for greatness? Or would she retreat, guarding the sanctuary her books had provided? The choice hung like a delicate thread, waiting for her to either cut it or weave a new tapestry. Just then, a strange clang echoed from the basement of the building. It was followed by frantic footsteps and a low murmur that washed over them like a wave of confusion, causing both Emily and Derek to freeze. What was that? Emily asked, her heart pounding. Something wasn't right. As the murmur grew louder and closer, dread tightened in her chest. Emily stared into Derek's eyes, searching for answers. The chaotic chorus drew closer, and she knew this was only the beginning. What were the shadows lurking around the project? And who else might be drawn in with them? The choices lay heavy at her feet, yet an unexpected danger was emerging from the darkness. Would they face it together, or dive into chaos alone? The clanging sound grew louder, echoing through the hallway like some unsettling alarm that refused to quiet down. The rhythmic thud of footsteps intensified, and the unease knotted further in Emily's stomach. She exchanged a glance with Derek, and she could see a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. Maybe it's just maintenance, he suggested, but his voice wavered, betraying a hint of worry that made Emily's heart race even faster. Linda squinted toward the door. Or maybe it's something worse. We should check it out. Are you crazy? Emily shot back, the fear creeping in. What if it's dangerous? Staying here isn't safer, Linda insisted, her hands trembling slightly. But before she could finish, another crash resonated from below, and the lights flickered ominously, dimming for a heartbeat before stabilizing. The flicker sent a shiver up Emily's spine. What if this chaos had nothing to do with the project, and everything to do with something much darker? Okay, let's just take a look, Derek finally said, his voice steely despite the uncertainty in his eyes. He stepped forward, and Emily instinctively followed. A mix of adrenaline and dread surged within her as they made their way to the stairwell. As they descended into the lower levels of the building, shadows danced along the walls, creating an eerie ambience. The smell of something metallic, was it blood? Made Emily's throat tighten. She smothered the urge to panic. The murmurs intensified, and as they reached the basement door, Emily halted. What if it's a trap? She whispered, gripping the railing for support. Derek frowned, glancing back. We can't back out now. Whatever's happening down there might change everything for us. His blue eyes brightened with a sense of purpose that both reassured and terrified her. The door creaked open, and they surged into the dimly lit basement, where the shadows melded into the corners like lurking beasts. The frantic whispers materialized into distinct voices, some desperate, some oddly calm. Did you hear that? Linda hissed, eyes wide with alarm. It sounds like stop, Derek cut in sharply, his posture rigid. His instincts seemed sharp, honed from experience in fast-paced corporate battles. We need to be quiet. The murmurs grew clearer, and Emily's heart sank. It sounded like a conversation and an argument between multiple people. As they crept forward, she peered into the flickering light at the far end of the room. A group of people huddled together, their expressions dark and intense. One figure stood taller than the rest, gesturing wildly. Emily squinted, trying to catch the words spilling from his lips. Need to move fast, can't trust anyone. They're watching. Her instincts went on high alert. What was happening here? Suddenly, the leader in the group turned, casting a glance toward the door. Emily froze, heart pounding like a drum. They had been spotted. Get back. Linda whispered fiercely, but before they could turn, the door swung open violently, and in stepped a figure more commanding than Derek, a tall man with piercing eyes and an air of menace. What are you doing here? He demanded, voice low and threatening. The weight of his gaze pressed down on Emily, making the room spin. Derek instinctively stepped in front of Emily, as if to protect her from the onslaught of danger brewing in front of them. We're just checking on the commotion, he replied, his voice steady but tense. But Emily couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than a simple misunderstanding. The shadows had shifted, and beneath the surface of the ambitious project Derek had proposed, something darker lurked. "Move," the man growled, eyes drilling into them. "You're getting caught in something much bigger than you can handle." Emily's pulse raced. Was this the chaos Derek had warned about? Dread washed over her as she glanced around for a way out. Would she have to leave behind everything she held dear, her passions, her friendships, just to step into this unknown world? Before she could comprehend her next thought, the man gestured sharply with his hand, signaling the group to disperse. "Get ready," he cautioned, utterly unreadable. "Things are about to get complicated." As they backed away, heart pounding, Emily knew a choice loomed ahead far more significant than her previous decisions. Would she retract into the safety of her known world, or plunge headlong into this dangerous chaos that had yanked her from her cocoon? And as Derek met her gaze, their fates intertwined, she couldn't shake the feeling that her life had already begun its irreversible change. What would they uncover next? And who would pay the price for chasing after the next chapter? Adrenaline surged through Emily's body as she and Derek stared into the dark abyss of the basement. The tall man's presence felt overpowering, casting a cloak of fear that seemed to wrap tightly around her throat. She wanted to run, to escape the suffocating atmosphere, but her feet remained rooted to the ground. "Who are you?" Derek asked, his voice steadier than Emily felt. There was a heaviness in the air, like a storm brewing just out of sight, and she feared they had just stepped into its eye. The man let out a low chuckle that seemed to vibrate through the silence of the room. "That doesn't matter. What matters is what you've stumbled into. This isn't a place for amateurs." He stepped closer, the dim light catching the sharp angles of his face. "You need to leave. Now." "What is going on? Why all the secrecy?" Emily pleaded, finally finding her voice. The urgency was palpable. If they left, would it mean retreating from something they could never understand? The man's eyes narrowed, a flicker of recognition crossing his face. Curiosity can be deadly. "Believe me." Linda's breath hitched beside Emily. "We won't leave without understanding. We deserve to know what's happening." "Do you?" The man shot back, disbelief coating his words. He gestured with one hand, and the group huddled behind him fell silent, their eyes shifting to Emily and her friends. "What you're asking for is information that could put you in serious danger. Kidnapping, betrayal. Everyone here is fighting for survival." Derek stepped forward. "Then we won't get in your way. Just tell us, do you need help? We can help." His voice was calm, but Emily sensed the tension beneath the surface, like a taut wire ready to snap. "Help?" The man scoffed, but there was something else in his tone, a flicker of interest. "You don't know what you're asking for. The stakes are higher than you can imagine." Emily glanced at Linda, whose wide eyes reflected her own growing apprehension. "We're not afraid," Emily said, surprising even herself. "Whatever you're hiding, we want to be part of it. We have to join this fight, or at least understand it." The man's expression shifted, something unreadable dancing across his features. He considered them for a moment, a hurricane of thoughts brewing just behind his cold gaze. "Fine. But know this, once you step in, there's no turning back." Before Emily could reply, he turned to the group behind him and barked, "Get ready. We're about to make some changes." His tone reverberated like a command that cracked through the oppressive air, igniting action. Emily's heart raced. What did he mean by changes? What were they going to do? She exchanged another look with Derek, an unspoken understanding passing between them. This was their moment to dive headfirst into the chaos, to uncover the truth that lay beneath the surface. But as the group began moving, she felt a shiver run down her spine, a warning against the dark path opening up before them. Then, at that instant, a loud crash echoed from deeper within the building, making the ground tremble beneath their feet. The lights above flickered violently, plunging them into moments of darkness followed by brief flashes of light. "What was that?" Linda gasped, grabbing Emily's elbow for support. "We need to hurry," the man urged, urgency coating his words now. "There's no time to waste." As they followed the command, the shadows danced around them, each step taking them deeper into the labyrinth of secrets and potential danger. Emily's mind raced with thoughts of escape, of pressing the rewind button on her life. But could she really walk away now? Would she give up everything she knew for a battle she didn't even understand? Amid the confusion, a sudden revelation struck Emily. What if the truth they sought was not what it seemed? What if this fight was about more than survival? Suddenly, she heard whispers again, frantic and rising, weaving through the air like a dark promise of something terrible unleashed. Get down! The tall man shouted as they rounded a corner. Emily dropped to her knees, the sound of footsteps barreling towards them sending her heart racing. What lay ahead? And who were they truly facing? The questions loomed like shadows, threatening to swallow them whole. The ground shook again, more violently this time, sending a wave of dust spiraling into the air. Emily's heart raced as she pressed her hands against the cold concrete, feeling every pulse beat against her ribs. The footsteps grew closer, thumping with an urgency that sent a chill down her spine. Stay low. The tall man hissed, his voice cutting through the tension like a knife. They huddled together, crouched in a tight circle of dread, the flickering lights above casting a strobe effect that illuminated their shared fear. Emily could feel Linda trembling beside her, a mirror of her own anxiety. What's happening? Linda whispered, her eyes darting between the man and the dark corridor from which the footsteps came, as if expecting creatures straight from their worst nightmares to emerge. Everything you think you know is about to change, the tall man replied, his voice low but edged with intensity. The truth is more than any of you have ever foreseen. Another crash echoed, followed by the splintering of wood, as something collided violently against the door behind them. The man cursed under his breath, and in a rush, he motioned them forward. Time's up. Move. They scuttled into the next room, a long narrow hallway lined with disarray, papers scattered, boxes overturned, and a pungent smell lingering in the air that made Emily's stomach churn. She could dimly see what appeared to be old pictures on the walls, faces blurred and obscured by time, almost as if they were warning her to turn back. Keep moving. The man urged, pushing them ahead. They're on to us. Emily barely noticed he had a flashlight now, the beam cutting through the murk, illuminating the chaotic scene. As they rushed down the hall, she caught shadows flitting by, ghostly apparitions that seemed to taunt her from the corners of her vision. What are we running from? Derek interjected, breath coming out in heavy gasps, a mix of fear and defiance. Reckoning, the tall man replied, not breaking his stride. A reckoning of what's buried here. Their secret will not be taken lightly and will stop at nothing to crush anyone who dares to interfere. The urgency pulsed stronger in Emily's chest. What could they uncover in this forgotten place? What horrors lay ahead, and could they truly stride bravely into this burgeoning hell? Suddenly, a loud thud resounded behind them, followed by the scream of splintering wood, easing into the darkness like a predator unleashed. We're being tracked. The tall man declared, now moving faster, eyes raked with stress. Shouldn't we find a way out? Emily asked, watching the man's expression harden with a determination she hadn't seen before. Not until we reach the center. Center of what? Derek shouted, panic breaking through the urgency. The man turned, urgency stripped away to reveal a dull edge of anger. A trap. He spat, and you're stepping right into it. Emily felt her body stiffen, every instinct screaming at her to run in the opposite direction. But the allure of the unknown pulled her deeper, a magnetic force she couldn't shake. Do you trust me? The tall man suddenly locked eyes with her, and in that moment, she was struck. I don't know. Then you're walking into betrayal, he warned, and this isn't just about surviving. It's about the truth. The lights flickered one last time and plunged them back into darkness, the echo of masked figures looming closer. Brace yourselves. The tall man shouted as the walls began to close in, and time slipped through their grasp like sand through fingers. Their fate was teetering on the edge, and as they scrambled to make sense of it all, Emily realized they were not just tiptoeing into danger. They were stepping into a daily battle, a war that started long before their arrival. What would they discover at the heart of it all? Would the dark end up consuming them, or would they emerge holding the key to a truth they were never meant to uncover? The uncertainty lingered like a heartbeat, waiting to shatter the silence. With a final surge of darkness, the hallway seemed to constrict around them, an inescapable vice of dread. Emily's breath quickened, her heart thundered like a drum echoing within the confines of her chest. The tall man thrust the flashlight ahead, illuminating the crumbling walls. Each beam revealed more remnants of forgotten lives, scraps of cloth, a shattered mirror, and rusted tools that whispered of past labor and secrets. "Keep moving," he barked again, urgency clawing at his voice. Emily glanced back, and a shiver rippled through her as shadows coalesced, spilling out like dark smoke, creeping along the floor after them. Were those voices she heard? Whispers racing against her mind, urging her to stop. "Do you hear that?" Linda peered into the depths behind them, eyes wide with terror. "It's just the echoes," Derek said, though the tremor in his tone suggested otherwise. The terror that painted their faces mirrored one another: fear, confusion, and an inexplicable drive that pushed them further into the bowels of the unknown. "Focus," the tall man insisted. "We need to reach the center. It's south, the only place we can confront what's behind all this." Emily swallowed hard, her throat dry and constricted. "But what does that even mean?" Her voice trembled, desperation slipping through. "What are we really doing here?" "The truth," the man replied tersely. "That's all you need to know for now." The flickering light cast eerie shadows that danced menacingly around their feet, as if to mock their fragile hope. As they hurried forward, time stretched, and each hurried step echoed against the decrepit walls. In that moment, a bold realization hit her: this wasn't just a search for answers. It felt like an urgent reckoning with their fates. Then, unexpectedly, the sound of footsteps echoed doubly loud behind them, more than just shadows. A heavy clattering, a brush against the old walls, brushing aside urgency and caution itself. Emily felt the hairs rise on her arms, cold like ice gripping her spine. "Run! Now!" The tall man's face transformed, contorting into an amalgamation of determination and fear. He shot forward, quickening their pace along a twisting path that blurred into unrecognizable chaos. Emily urged herself to keep up, but her body felt as if it were made of lead. Suddenly, Linda stumbled, grasping Emily's arm. I can't breathe." Panic flickered in her eyes, and urgency morphed into a desperate plea. "Just a bit further," Emily cried, her heart thundering in her ears. "We can't stop." But a vicious roar erupted through the corridor, a bone-chilling sound that shattered any glimmer of hope. It was a feral noise, something alive and primal. What was chasing them? A wave of crushing fear surged forward, pushing them into a blur of adrenaline. They ducked into a side room, a small alcove lined with dark wooden shelves filled with dust-covered books. The air inside felt denser, oppressive, as if the secrets of those ancient pages sought to crush them. Emily barely noticed the titles, crumbling under the weight of time, but the shadows were relentless, prowling just beyond the threshold. "Why are we hiding?" Derek's voice trembled. "What's out there?" "Something old, something angry," the tall man said, his voice grave. "We can't let it find us." Emily's heart sank. The thought of being hunted by, what? Shadows? Echoes of the past? Her breathing trembled, mixed with the heavy silence. This was more than mere secrets, this was retribution from beyond the grave. Suddenly, the wall shuddered as something slammed against it, a weighty thud that rattled the shelves, sending dust raining down. Their eyes shot to the door, fear igniting in their chests. "Do you trust me?" The tall man turned to them, desperation mingling with certainty. "We can't stay here." Before Emily could think, she nodded, though doubt coiled tightly around her heart. "What do we do?" His gaze was fierce as he turned sideways, pressing against the shadows. "We fight. Whatever is out there, it's hunting us for a reason." The tension in the air thickened, a palpable energy wrapping around them like a shroud. But Emily felt a flicker of resolve. They couldn't run forever. With darkness chasing them, they had to confront what lay within that angry void. "Let us go." The tall man commanded, and they stepped into the unknown, hearts pounding and breath steady as they fortified themselves against the looming dread. As they burst into the hallway, the familiar thud of footsteps echoed, but now, it felt like the beating of ancient drums, a rhythm born of fear, and the adrenaline surged harder. What could they face? What horrors awaited? And would they find the answers they sought, or stand as mere pawns in a game made by unseen forces? The sketchy boundaries of the unknown painted a picture of terror ahead, louder than their hearts could ever echo. The tall man charged forward, leading them deeper into the suffocating darkness. Emily, still fighting to catch her breath, felt the walls close in, the air thick with dust and despair. Each step echoed like a countdown, shadows dancing madly, taunting her with every flicker of the flashlight. "Lucy!" Linda gasped, stumbling behind them, clutching her stomach as if the weight of their pursuit was too much to bear. "I can't, don't stop," Emily urged, maintaining eye contact with her friend. "We're almost there." But where was there exactly? The questions spiraled in Emily's mind like the dust in the air. The tall man, a stranger with a purpose, seemed like the only lifeline in this nightmare, but she felt the grip of doubt tightening around her spirit. As another heavy thud reverberated through the corridor, the tall man spun around, eyes ablaze. "Keep moving. We don't have time." The fear in his voice stoked a wildfire of panic within Emily. They pressed on, heartbeats synchronized in a chaotic symphony of dread. For a moment, she lost herself in the clang of dread. What hunted them? Had they awakened something best left buried? Suddenly, the flashlight flickered. Darkness enveloped them, a suffocating black that sent shivers racing down Emily's spine. Linda cried out in panic, her voice cracking through the silence. "I can't see." "Find the wall," Derek shouted, grappling for sanity in the swirling void. They groped around, fingers clawing at rough, unyielding wood, searching for something solid amidst the insanity. "No," the tall man growled, urgency painted on his features. "Stay together." Then, a loud crash punctured the stillness, echoing back at them as if the building itself was disturbed. What lurked behind the shadows, waiting like a predator? Suddenly, the light flickered back into existence, illuminating a door just ahead, aged and splintered. It looked like an exit from hell, held together only by a desperate push. "There!" Emily exclaimed, her pulse spiking as she rushed forward. The others followed as they barreled toward the door, the thudding footsteps behind them growing louder. Whatever was chasing them, a beast, a memory, was closing in. Emily slammed her hand against the door, feeling the heat of breath from whatever dwelled in the darkness. "Push!" The tall man barked, and with one united effort, they charged against the old door. It creaked and groaned before suddenly swinging open, spilling them into a larger, shadow-filled room. Eyes wide, they stumbled into what looked like an old library, bookshelves looming like sentinels in the darkness. Emily glanced around, her breathing shallow, searching for any clue of safety, but the feeling of being watched clawed aggressively at her mind. "It's here." The tall man's voice dropped to a whisper, fear creeping into his tone. He angled the flashlight to reveal ghostly figures suspended in the air like memories frozen in time, their faces twisted in agony and despair. What is this?" Linda's voice quaked as she took a step back, nearly bumping into Emily. Emily's heart raced, but she felt an unexpected twinge of sympathy for the lost souls. "They're trapped, like us." The tall man shook his head, urgency winning over empathy. "They're drawn to fear. Right now, we can't let their despair consume us." But just as he finished his thought, the shadows around them began to swirl, twisting violently as the ghostly figures lunged forward, their faces morphing into a cacophony of twisted agony. "Get back!" Derek shouted, pushing Emily behind him. "Calm down!" the tall man shouted, grounding himself. "This is our chance." "Chance?" Emily's voice was a disbelieving whisper. "Chance at what?" "To uncover the truth. We're the key to set them free. But we must face the darkness within." His gaze turned fierce, and Emily saw a flicker of desperation masked by a steely resolve. But how? They were outnumbered by whispers of the forgotten. With darkness swirling around, twisting and turning, Emily sensed the weight of an unbreakable bond. Was confronting the darkness in her heart the only way to fight back? As the shadows surged close, a chilling harmony of voices crescendoed, drowning out the echoes of her heartbeat. Emily focused on a single thought: the truth. But could she face whatever lay ahead, unveiled and raw? The whirlpool of fear thudded around them as Emily stepped forward, drawers of fear filling her mind. Something primal was awakening, and this wasn't just about survival anymore. What truth awaited them in this realm of despair? And could they muster the inner strength to confront it? The library trembled, ready to unveil its darkest secrets, if only they dared to ask. The shadows writhed around them like living things, and every instinct told Emily to turn back. But something deep inside her urged her to confront this darkness, to plunge into the unknown. This was a moment she had prepared for, a test of everything her books had ever taught her about courage and resilience. "Remember," the tall man spoke, breaking through her thoughts, "they are afraid of what they cannot understand. If we face them together, we can help them." His voice held a potent mix of conviction and vulnerability that resonated within her. Emily felt Derek step closer, reassuringly steady. They locked eyes in that suffocating darkness, both recognizing the leap of faith they were about to take. Linda's hand trembled in Emily's, a tangible thread of connection bridging their fears. As she took a deep breath, Emily focused on the overwhelming surge of emotion that enveloped the ghostly figures. Each shadowy face held stories, trapped memories inhabited by sorrow and regret. "What do you want?" Emily called out, drawing herself up with newfound determination. The echoes froze, and for an instant, the room went quiet. One ghostly figure stepped forward, a woman, her face streaked with despair and longing. "Freedom," she whispered, her voice piercing through the gloom. "Freedom from our past, from choices made too late." Emily's heart raced. She had always found solace in stories of redemption and second chances. "Then let us help you," she replied, her voice steady despite the chill rolling down her spine. At those words, the shadows converged, surrounding them with a whirl of energy. The fear intensified, but Emily focused through it, her heart pounding a counter-rhythm against the dark. "You have to face your fears to find the truth," the tall man called out, his own voice strong, weaving hope into the air as if he were igniting a flame. Derek nodded, placing a hand protectively on Linda's shoulder while glancing briefly at Emily, both partners in this unpredictable fight. The atmosphere shifted, a current of electricity rippling through the ancient library, forcing Emily's heart to surge. "Show us!" Emily shouted into the chaotic swirl, determination blurring the lines of fear. "We're here. We want to help." Suddenly, the room erupted with a storm of light and sound. Shadows collapsed into fragments that spun and danced, merging with the bright energy that now filled the space. The faces shimmered like glass, distorted yet beautiful in their vulnerability. "Together," the tall man urged, "we can find the way." Hand in hand, they stepped forward, creating a circle of unity that bonded their spirits against the darkness. Slowly but surely, the shadows began to shift. Faces appeared terrified, lost, yet yearning for understanding. "Let us see what binds you," Emily called again, feeling the rush of memories flood her consciousness, experiences long kept hidden. As if responding to her call, a voice came from the depths. "Regret. We were lost to ambition, to the price of success that stole our peace." The shadows echoed in poignant unison, revealing clip after clip of memories that spun like scattered leaves. Emily understood in an instant. Derek's world was one of wealth and status, a chase that left many, including these tortured souls, behind. "This is the truth," she whispered, her voice breaking through the layers of guilt that wrapped around the figures. "You sought something that ultimately led to your incarceration in your own ambitions." His heart racing, Derek stepped up beside her. "You can let go," he urged, a realization burning brighter than fear. "Your past doesn't define your future." The shadows began to break apart, releasing the air that had grown thick with uncertainty. The fleeting faces turned slowly toward the light of understanding, a haunting reminder that in acknowledging pain, they could also find release. "Do you see?" the woman whispered again, her essence seeming to brighten. We feared being forgotten, of being left behind, just like we left others in pursuit of our dreams. Emily felt a warm swell of empathy as reality washed over her. But you're not forgotten. You can reclaim your power. As the words left her lips, the shadows trembled. They began intertwining, flickering as if everything Emily and the tall man had bravely faced had become one interwoven threads of pain and resilience coming to life again. Let go of the fear. The tall man shouted, his voice rising above the swell, rallying spirits confident in new beginnings. With one unified breath, they released the past. The shadows dissolved into strands of light, illuminating the room with a warmth that chased away the chill. In an overwhelming rush, the spirits swirled into one radiant column of hope, and a deep sigh echoed through them, all the relief of liberation. The faces transformed into beams shedding soft illumination, drawing back the memories that had so tightly bound them. Emily's heart soared as she felt something shift within her, a weight lifted, freeing her from the pain of decisions made long ago. The entanglement of darkness unraveled, a silver thread woven through their challenges. In that moment of light, Emily knew this journey was more than just a confrontation. It was a testament to resilience, to holding on to the glimmers of hope no matter where the shadows might lead. As the air settled, Emily glanced around, each face around her brimming with a sense of closure. Shadows that had once haunted now transformed into guiding lights for the path ahead. With a final burst of brilliance, the figures began to fade, leaving behind only the echo of their gratitude. The tall man turned to them, his expression shifting from urgency to peace. You did it. Derek looked at Emily, his blue gaze brightening with realization. We faced the darkness together. Linda shook her head, the disbelief washing over her, but there was also joy. Who knew we held the key? As they shared relieved smiles, a surge of relief flooded the room, spilling over into their hearts and illuminating paths yet to be explored. In that moment, Emily understood. Though she had risked everything for a chance to escape the confines of her quiet life, she had discovered something more, a sense of belonging, and the strength to pursue her dreams without surrendering to fear. Together, they stood ready to embrace the future, knowing they had emerged not just as survivors but as catalysts of change. It wasn't merely about their destinies entwined in ambition, it was about the bonds forged, and the shadows turned into light. That we all face our darkness, but sometimes by stepping into it, we realize that we are never alone. Our fears become the very thing that set us free, and as they turned away from the remnants of the past, a new chapter awaited them, shimmering on the horizon, brighter than any dream they could have imagined. Now, fueled with purpose, they were ready to conquer whatever lay ahead, hand in hand. Emily took a deep breath. Stepping forward into the future, a new journey beckoned, and it was theirs to define. But before they could take another step, a reminder echoed within her. The world around them had changed, and they were only just beginning to uncover the secrets still waiting to be told. And if this chapter meant that pursuing their passions could transform lives, so too did it mean that they had the power to share their stories, ignite hope, and ripple their light throughout the world. So now comes the call, dear friends. You need to subscribe now to this channel so you don't miss the next riveting adventures waiting just for you. Smash that like button for me to feed the algorithm and keep our community growing at such lightning speed. Flood the comments section with your thoughts, reactions, and theories about this unexpected conclusion. I want to hear from each of you. And for the love of all things exciting, don't wait even one more second to share this incredible journey with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformative tale. Your support is what keeps this channel alive and pushes us to craft more stories that stir the heart. Show us you're a true fan by jumping in right now.